Hello and welcome to another video lecture from MrWatkins.com. This lecture is going to be on the parts of a mitochondria, and it's going to be tied to how those parts fit in cellular respiration. So let's get started. This picture, similar pictures are out on the internet. This picture here, this outer piece here, so I'm just coloring it in as brown as we sit in here. This outer piece is a membrane. Phospholipid membrane, just like the cell membrane. It's a membrane that surrounds this entire thing, actually defines the mitochondria. And I'm just going to briefly color this bottom part in here. But this membrane here is called the outer membrane. So this right here is the outer membrane. Not very imaginative. It's the outer membrane of the mitochondria, or the mitochondrial outer membrane. Now, you're looking at this membrane as if you would be looking at, say, like a bean, and it's been cut, and you're kind of looking at the angle, not directly on top. So this piece inside here, all of this would be on the inside part of that membrane. But this here, this almost looks like these double line, these two lines here, this is another membrane, and it's a membrane that's inside, and it's kind of folded up and creased all inside the mitochondria here. Okay, then I'm coloring that red. So it's all of this area here on the inside. And it's just the membrane. So that means that there's going to be a space inside this membrane as well. So this membrane, this inside membrane, has a name, and that name is the inner membrane. So I'm finished going around here, getting all this colored in. So there we go. There's the inner membrane, and it's all this spot here, all the way around. So this is the inner membrane. Okay. Now, the inner and outer membrane, there's a space in between. And that space that's in between, so that's all this area here, all of this area that I'm kind of coloring in as purple here, this space that runs in between is called the inner membrane space. And pre-AP is not needing to know a whole lot of detail about this. IB and AP do, and for you that are in IB, or AP, what you need to know about this is where a large number of enzymes are held. It's also where there's a high concentration of protons, and those protons show up there because of the electron transport chain, and you'd have to watch a different video to find out all that detail. But for pre-AP, all you really need to know is that it's called the inner membrane space. And then again, for IB or AP, you need to know about the hydrogen ion concentration. So this is the inner membrane space. Again, we're not being very imaginative in our names here. Now, inside the inner membrane, so we have our outer membrane, and then we have this other membrane that's kind of all folded up with these little finger-like projections. Inside that inner membrane, we have one last area, and that last area is called the matrix, and I'm going to color that in orange. So we're going to color that part in, and it's all this area here, and it is called the matrix. Now, this is not a solution like water. It's a little thicker than that, and it contains a lot of enzymes, a lot of proteins, a lot of things. It's almost as if it was another cytoplasm, but this cytoplasm is geared, this area is geared for cellular respiration, specifically for the aerobic side on cellular respiration. So all the area that's inside this inner mitochondria, that's called the matrix. Now, in the matrix, this is where the Krebs cycle occurs. The Krebs cycle occurs inside the matrix. This means that a molecule such as pyruvate or pyruvic acid at the end of glycolysis has to go through both the outer membrane and the inner membrane to get into this area called the matrix. if we're going to do aerobic cellular respiration. So it's got to go through 2 membranes to get inside so that we can go through the Krebs cycle making NADH, FADH2, ATP, and carbon dioxide. So remember that the carbon dioxide is given off as a gas. That's what we as animals give off as a gas, as opposed to oxygen, which plants give off oxygen. And the ATP, that's the lowest energy carrier molecule, or the lowest amount of energy, or a molecule that has the lowest amount of energy in it that we can use for lots and lots of reactions. And then the NADH and the FADH2, again, you'll need to watch the electron transport chain video or go look through cellular respiration. Those 2 molecules, NADH and FADH2, that carry energy, or electron carriers, go to the electron transport chain. And that is found in the inner membrane space, and a very specific part of that inner membrane space. The part of the inner membrane space that typically has the ETC in it, the electron transport chain, are all these areas that have these little finger-like projections, these pieces where the inner membrane has pushed itself in. So this particular piece here, this particular piece, and it has a special name, and that's the cristae. C-R-I-S-T-A-E. And this is where the electron transport chain, or the ETC, occurs. This is mitochondria. It's very straightforward, not a ton of things you need to know. Just remember, outer membrane, not anything that pre-AP or IB AP students really need to sink their teeth into as far as knowing all the details about it. It's just a membrane made out of phospholipids, does have its seroproteins and things. We have an inner membrane that was basically, it's almost like a vacuole inside a vacuole, where it has these folds called cristae. On the cristae, that's where the electron transport chain occurs, where the NADH and the FADH2 are transferred so that they can be, their energy can be used to make ATP. And you need to watch the ETC one, especially the IB students and the AP students, for the chemiosmosis part. And then on the very inside, we have the matrix, which is really just a large collection of different proteins. It is got water, and it's just not as thick as water. And that's where the Krebs cycle, also called the TCA cycle, tricarboxylic acid cycle, it's also called the citric acid cycle. And again, you definitely want to have a look-see at those other videos and the other notes on that so that you understand what these parts are. You are responsible for knowing the mitochondria, and you should be able to draw the mitochondria and label it just as I have done from scratch on a blank sheet of paper. Thank you.